Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Peering and I'm a second year pre-human biology and society student at UCLA and currently on the pre-med path. In this video, I will be going over some tips and testing strategies on how to self-study for the SAT and be telling you my story about how I brought up my score from a 1360 to a 1540. The SAT is such a crucial part of any college application and college admission success, so I knew that I really wanted to have a strong SAT score. And this SAT score was the 99th percentile, so it really brought my score way up from a 1360, almost a 200-point jump, and I really think it aided me in my admission to UCLA, where I go now, and my admissions to a lot of other dream schools. When approaching the SAT, I knew how important it was for my college application and my college admission process, but I also knew from past experience that I wasn't the best standardized test taker, so I thought based on that knowledge, the best plan of action for me was to go to a tutoring place and pay for SAT prep, which is very common. So I took a summer of SAT prep courses and I paid for them at the end of the summer. I took an SAT in August and I ended up with a 1360. 1360 was a score that I was very unhappy with, I was not satisfied with, and I knew that it would put me at a disadvantage to have that score at a lot of the colleges I wanted to go to and that I was applying to. So it was really crucial for me that I bring up my score. So because that tutoring place didn't help me and I knew that testing strategy wasn't working in my preparation, I decided to actually self-study for the SAT instead. So I devised a self-studying routine, and from that way I changed my direction on how I approached the SAT and how I prepared for the test. And I ended up, after a couple months of self-studying, retaking the test in October of that same year, and I ended up with a 1540, which was a huge jump, almost 200 points, and that 1540 really put me in a great way going into my college application process. So make sure you watch to the end of the video for all the testing strategies that I'm going to share and that you can implement into your own self-studying techniques. My first tip is to make a testing calendar, a study calendar, and actually stick with it. Time management is a huge part in preparing for any exam, and the SAT is absolutely no exception. Luckily for you, if you're like me and time management is not your strong suit and you might be a big procrastinator like I was in high school, there are a lot of resources out there already that will help you. Khan Academy actually teamed up with College Board recently to make a website for SAT prep, and since it's affiliated with College Board, this is like official SAT practice. So you can find this at khanacademy.com/SAT, and this website is absolutely amazing. I can't stress about how amazing this resource is. So basically, on this website, you can link up your College Board account. By doing so, all your past data from your past PSAT, from any SATs you've taken previously, will sync up to that account, and they'll give you personalized testing routines and testing strategies, different practice tests to take. And what this really does is gives you a unique testing strategy and method to use, because it's really formulated specifically to what your strengths and weaknesses are, using the College Board account and using your past data. On the website, you can also enter a test date that you're going to use. So if you're taking the test in August and it's June, it will formulate a specific plan based on how soon or how far away your test is. That really will keep you on track for studying for your SAT, and you don't even have to make any schedule yourself. It really just gives it to you. So what this does is it gives you like either daily or weekly little practice quizzes to do, split up into sections, SAT math and SAT writing, and they are past College Board questions or College Board confirmed, like this is good SAT practice. So you never are second guessing if this is actually what you're going to be tested on. They're actual questions that you will probably see on your real SAT in the similar format. What I found most useful about this is that it breaks it up into 10-minute, 30-minute chunks, and these little chunks are so much more manageable than sitting down and doing your own practice for hours on end. If you do this little practice daily and they really follow the set routine that they're giving you, it'll exponentially help your SAT score. Honestly, if I had known about this resource sooner, I would have saved so much time and so much money on preparing for the SAT. So definitely check it out. again, it's www.khanacademy.org/SAT, and just link up your College Board account and you'll be set to go in terms of your study calendar. Now let's review some overall testing strategies by section. So we can start with diving into the reading and writing section of the SAT. So one tip that I have, one testing strategy that really helped me, was to look at the questions before even reading the passage. This way you really have a direct, focused approach on when you're going through the passage, what you're looking for, what answers you're going to have to know for the questions ahead of you. I found that when I was going through the reading and writing section of the SAT, those long, lengthy passages really honestly were so hard for me to read because I lost focus. And then I would waste my time rereading the passage, going back from the answers, not really understand what I had read, and I would constantly have to refer back to the text. So what I did on the test that I got a 1540 on was I went through and looked at the questions first, and then you have a really guided way of reading through the passage because you know what you have to know, you know what you have to look for at the end of the passage. I think this is a great time management skill and a great way to use your time efficiently when taking the SAT. Now let's look at some specific types of questions that you're going to see on the reading and writing portion. One type of question that I have a tip for is one that I struggled with before. So it's called an inference question. So these questions are ones that they're asking you to make an inference about the overall theme or the message of the passage. And I found that when I was looking at those, there was a lot of answers that could have been the right ones. A lot of them were very similar, some of them were kind of vague, and I didn't know how to differentiate between the wrong answer and the right answer. The SAT really wants to trick you, so a lot of the times they will put very ambiguous answers, but there's always only one right answer. So what I did was, a lot of the times these kinds of inference questions will be followed up by an evidence-based question. For example, it will ask you, based on your answer to the previous question of what the overall theme was, pick which evidence best represents that theme, and it will give you like line passages from the text. So what I did was, before even answering the question of the overall theme, I would look at the evidence that was offered to me in the second follow-up question and read through those lines and see, what kind of correlated with an idea that I had for the overall theme. Sometimes you're going to think that there's a correct answer in the first question, but they're not going to give you any evidence to back up that specific theme, so automatically you can rule it out. Another type of question that I struggled on in the reading and writing portion of the SAT were author inference questions or author technique questions, when they would ask you what kind of mood or tone an author is invoking in a certain passage. I found, just like with the inference questions, these answer choices can be really similar and really ambiguous, and again, the SAT loves to try to trick you. So a lot of these words, might even be synonyms or sound like synonyms, so it can be really hard to pick the right answer. So when I was doing this, I really got stumped when I was taking my first test, and I would just kind of, blindly guess based on the answer choices they gave me. But instead, on my second test, I devised a kind of three-pronged way of approaching this type of problem. So the first part of this approach is to answer the question without even looking at the answer choices. This way you can automatically eliminate some of the ones that you know for sure are wrong, and it will give you a better guide onto which answer might be correct based off your first idea without even looking at the choices. Again, really helps with this kind of process of elimination when looking at the multiple choice answers. The second part of this approach is to not just focus on the line that they're going to give you when asking for the mood or tone. So for example, in the question they're going to say, based on line 17, what mood or tone is this author invoking? And I, used to really narrow in on this specific line of the passage, and I think that's really hard to find an overall mood or tone based on the whole passage. You really want to look at the entire body of literature that they're presenting to you and that the author is giving you, and then you can kind of narrow it down from there to have a better idea of the theme in that one line. But it's really important to look at the context of the passage, so not just reading that one line, making sure you understand the mood or the tone the author is trying to invoke in the entire passage. And then the last part of this is to try to pull out direct quotations, direct evidence from the passage to back your claim. I kind of like to think of this as, you're writing an essay and you're trying to, make your thesis, what the author is trying to invoke via the tone or the mood, and then you want those direct quotations, right? Just like an essay, you want those direct quotations from the passage to really solidify your argument. I found like going through the passage and kind of underlining what I thought this is a good direct evidence really helped me narrow it down. Just like with the, the previous type of question that I had a problem with, going into the passage and really making sure you pick those great, key diction usage, strong vocabulary, those kind of things that the author's invoking is gonna automatically lead you to the right answer. So using this 3-step approach, it really, really helps you when it kind of is trying to trick you based on the answer choices that they're giving you. Again, the SAT only has one correct answer for every question, so make sure you're really paying attention to what they're asking of you and what the passage is giving you.